And so I want to walk through a concept of calendar planning. And the way that I want to do this is I want to introduce to you our calendar as it was back during the 5-year period of time when I was pastoring, part of a pastoral team of a local church. And I want to show you our calendar, how we thought about the calendar and how we did planning. Now, what I'm going to show you, we don't write this out. What you're going to see when all this is said and done, you're going to see a busy calendar, and we don't do this every month because we've been doing this for a long time now. In fact, as of this webinar, we've been doing some version of this for over 15 years. And so it is our habit, and so we just do it mentally now. But our children at the time were 2 years old, and one child was just born. And then as we continued to do this during the pastorate, we had another child born. And so our children were very young at the time, to put it within a time frame. The first thing that we do on our calendar, and we still do this today as our life does flex and it does change. I'll talk more about that later. But there are 2 fixed points on our calendar. The first fixed point is the Sunday morning church meeting. It's locked into our calendar and it's unmovable. It's non-negotiable. And then the other is small group. The church is valuable to every Christian's experience, and every church has different type meetings. We have 2 primary meetings. The one is the corporate meeting on Sunday morning, and then small group meeting on Wednesday evening. This is a way of doing it, not the way. And I'm sure as you think about your calendar, you will do it differently because your life is not my life. But I hope that you put these fixed points on your calendar, whatever your church meetings are, and then everything else goes around that. Now, one of the things that we did after we put these anchor points in our calendars, we divided our day up in thirds, meaning that the morning time and the afternoon time and the evening time. And so on Sunday, our calendar looked like this. There was a church meeting in the morning, and then there was family time, and then we did hospitality or did things with friends. And family and friends, by the way, as you see here, that they can switch around. It's not something that is dogmatic. It just depends on what was going on with friends. But the key thing that I want you to see here is that we never had more than 2 meetings maximum per day. And so we had church meeting and friends. When you see family here written out, family means downtime. That is rest time. And the reason that we did this, and we still do this to this day, on Sunday, it would be exceptional for us to have 3 kinds of gatherings. And the reason that we did it then is because Lucia had young children, and it would be exhausting to her to have a church meeting till noon or 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and then entertain guests till 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and then entertain guests or go somewhere in the evening. That did not serve her, and it did not serve our children, and it made for a lousy Monday. And so we learned early on that we cannot do 3 things in any one day, and we have pretty much lived by that ever since we learned that some 15 years ago. And so when you see family here on the calendar, what that means is that we're at home. We're either sleeping, we're either watching television, we're either sitting around talking, but we're not actively doing stuff because we need rest. And every other day of the month is similar to that. We never do more than 2 things on any given day. Now, the next thing that we plugged into our calendar was family time. Monday was my day off when I was pastoring, and so therefore Monday was locked down. You would have to die or some other traumatic event. Otherwise, I am I cannot be contacted with because my family is such a priority. And so we would go through our calendar and we would plug in family time similar to how we plugged in the church meetings time, and then everything else flowed around that, because we didn't want to neglect our family, meaning I did not want to neglect Lucia, she did not want to neglect me, and we did not want to neglect our children. Therefore, we had these times that were plugged into our calendar so that we made sure we had a family priority. We did not want to be ministry-centered, as some people interpret ministry as doing all that work out there and neglecting our family. And so what you see here on our calendar were the most critical things for us. Therefore, we plugged them in to make sure that we are not neglecting our family. Then, of course, I worked 6 days out of the week. The church meeting on Sunday, I worked from between 7 and 8 o'clock in the morning till it could be 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And then if we weren't entertaining friends on Sunday night, we'd have our family time, let's say Sunday afternoon, and then I would work later in the evening to where a typical Sunday could be 12 hours of work. And then there's the other 5 days, as you see here, where I worked as well. Now, it's important that you do understand that there's this interplay between structure and spontaneity. You could look at this calendar and say that it's so structured that you have structured the Spirit of God out of your calendar, and you've structured so many other things out of your calendar as well. No, this is a concept. We have a general plan, but we also practice spontaneity. We love spontaneity. And so sometimes these things changed. They can change quite often. What you don't want is to be so structured that you're inflexible and the Spirit of God is truly calendared out of your calendar. But then again, you have other people that are so spontaneous that they're just all over the map and they don't get much done because they're just moving all over. They don't have any kind of plan whatsoever. God is a strategic God, and the Holy Spirit is pneumatic, and so God plans, and then God is pneumatic, or there is spontaneity. And then, of course, we have time for our friends. There are several slots, as you can see on this calendar, in any given month where we are engaging with our friends. There's 4 potential times on Sunday. There's 5 on Thursday. There's 5 on Saturday. And so there's 14 times, almost half the month, where we can do hospitality or go out and interact with people. And so there was a lot of time to spend with a lot of people. Now, it is important that, as I mentioned before, that some of these blocks are unmovable. And it's important that you do have these anchor points, and I do want to come back to that. Your church should be a priority for you, and your family should be a priority for you, and you do want those anchor points, because if you don't have them, if you don't have them fixed in your mind, you don't have to have it written out on a calendar, but if you don't have it fixed in your mind, problems and people and the tyranny of the urgent will overwhelm you and overrun you. And if you're not careful, it can ruin your family. And because there is no structure, you can find yourself in a bad spot. One other thing here is that everything that you see here on the calendar I call meetings. This is something that we have done for a very long time now. I just say that I have a meeting. If somebody asks me, say, hey, Rick, I want to meet you on the 12th in the afternoon, I say, well, I can't meet you on the 12th in the afternoon because I have a meeting. As you see here on the 12th in the afternoon, it says family. Now, that could be that I'm taking my daughter to a fast food restaurant so that we can spend a couple hours together. But I don't say that. I say that I have a meeting. Anytime you ask me if I can meet with you on such time and I say that I can't, I'm going to tell you that I have a meeting, and that is the truth. I have a meeting. But that meeting may be that I'm watching a movie with my family. It may be that I'm going on a daddy and daughter date with one of my girls. It may be that I'm spending time with my wife. It's not important for me to tell people exactly what I'm doing. I am not lying to them. I do have a meeting. Sometimes that meeting may be prayer time. It may be me taking a nap. I'm having a meeting with myself. And so I say that, and people don't ever ask, well, what are you doing specifically? And again, it's not important. I'm not lying, but it is a way of communicating that I can't at this time, but I do have a time when I can meet you. And then I give them one of those times. And so just as a matter of protocol of how we do it, we call everything a meeting. The important thing here, and the final thing, is we make our plans. God orders our steps. It's another way of saying what I said before. There is structure. We make our plans. But then God orders our steps. Things can change, and we can live in that tension of both of these ideas. However you do it is important that you do have some concept of planning your calendar. If you don't, somebody else will do it for you. Let's take a coffee break. Our goal with our ministry is to make everything that we have free to everyone, but that is not possible unless we have people underwriting our ministry. For those of you who support us, thank you so much. You're not only benefiting from what you are receiving and that you're reading or listening to, but did you know that you are helping us to release this content to people who would never be able to support us, people all over the world? And so it is a twofer for you. You benefit, and missionally, you are helping us through your partnership to go out and reach hundreds of thousands of more people. If you're not supporting us and you're able to do so, will you do so? You can donate one time, or you can support on a recurring basis. I know that everyone can't do that, and so I want you to be released from any guilt or any pressure from us. It is okay. But also know that there are folks who can underwrite our ministry. If you can, would you pray about it? Thank you so much for listening to my coffee break.